See the vibes and all that, man. It's first day home, you see the vibes, man. That's how we push, man. King New York's home, man. All these shit you bought, man. Y'all rent. We on rent, man. All the shit mine, man. You hear it? Quarantine, man. This is our quarantine, man. I'm on house arrest, so come on, let's go. You see the vibes? Big body shit, man.
So, 6ix9ine recently revealed the luxury collection of cars that he's copped. In fact, he's been on a balling spree ever since he got out of jail. After all, he did come home to a big $20 million bag. And after the rumours that he was splurging on cars and jewellery went online, his first single Goober dropped, and we saw him flexing hard in that video with an oversized shark chain. But to keep it 100 with you for a second, I personally am more of a car guy than a jewellery guy. So, when Goober dropped, I was a lot more interested in the lyrics of that song where he was bragging about all the fly whips that he'd been buying. First off, he bragged about sliding in the Bentley Trucker, a reference to the Bentley Bentayga SUV that launched back in 2015 and comes with a price tag starting at $160,000. After that, he was of course bragging about his Wraith Trucker, a car which kind of actually doesn't exist. I mean, the Rolls-Royce Wraith is actually more of a fastback coupe version of the Rolls-Royce, a model that rappers have famously adored staring at its star-covered ceiling for years. And of course, 6ix9ine showed off his Wraith in that social media video where he was flexing all of his cars on his driveway. The Wraith was launched back in 2013 and coming with a price tag of close to $300,000 new. But it's not a truck and it's definitely not a trucker! So chances are my boy 6ix9ine may have got the Wraith Trucker confused with the more recently launched Rolls-Royce Cullinan SUV. A truck which in my book is a darn sight more impressive than an old Wraith, but that is not important. So, Goober drops, we know that 6ix9ine's been splurging on cars and we can at least tell from his lyrics that he's bought a Wraith and he's bought a Bentley truck. Then, as we all know, after Goober dropped, 6ix9ine went live on IG to 2 million people, a world record at the time. And on that live, he bragged about even more cars that he'd bought, saying that he owned them outright.
All 4 cars, Lambo, Lamborghini Aventador, Wraith, McLaren, G-Wagon, you name it, nigga, all mine, all bought out.
And eventually, to the joy of me, every rap fan under 30, and pretty much anybody who isn't Meek Mill, 6ix9ine eventually gave us an extensive mini tour of his car collection. He had the Lamborghini Aventador, I mean, we've seen those before. I'm pretty sure they just give you one of those for getting a Breakfast Club interview. We got a glimpse of his Wraith Trucker. We saw way on the far right a bright pink G-Wagon, which based on the bull bars on the front grille, I'd wager is probably that very same G-Wagon that he bought for his girlfriend Jade when he was still in jail. But wait a minute, what's this? A McLaren? Well, 6ix9ine did tell us in his life that he had bought a McLaren.
McLaren.
But this was not just any McLaren, no. This is a limited edition 1 of 10 McLaren MSO X. But it's not just any limited edition 1 of 10 McLaren MSO X. It's a 1 of 10 limited edition McLaren MSO X with a Harrods body wrap. A Harrods body wrap. In fact, wait a minute. Right, look at this, right? Look at that. See that? Harrods bag. Iconic. I've got these coming out the arse, right? Do you know how many things that I've got that have this logo on it? I swear, people in England love this shit. Do you know how many things with this signature green Harrods logo I've bought on it for Christmas for my gran? This is a very specific reference for someone like 6ix9ine to be putting on his car, and frankly, it's fire. So, how on earth did 6ix9ine get such high-class drip on his driveway? This iconic green and gold Harrods signature logo has been put on more bags and boring tat than you can possibly imagine. This design is truly iconic over here in jolly old England. But in many ways, this is such a weird, specific niche reference that I am genuinely baffled how a rainbow-haired ex-9 tray blood turned super snitch would have the good taste to buy something this drippy. And I've got to say, once I spotted this, I didn't intend on making a video about it. I just wanted to know how on earth this guy had managed to acquire something so goddamn niche and fly. So I looked into it, and it turns out it was even more interesting than I first thought. Now, the paint job on 6ix9ine's McLaren MSO X was actually inspired by a famous paint job from a McLaren F1 GTR. This is actually a racing variety of the OG McLaren F1 road car, which back in the day before the Bugatti Veyron had launched was actually the world's fastest road production car. And for that, you can thank good old-fashioned British engineering.
This is the fastest production car on Earth, the McLaren F1. It's also the most expensive production car you can buy. To the few who can own one, it's an exquisite luxury, the ultimate driver's car.
Now, this car was very popular amongst ballers of a previous generation. In fact, here's Elon Musk getting his delivered back in the day, I assume a long time before he'd had that new hairline delivered.
It's 7 o'clock in the morning, and Elon Musk anxiously waits for his golden payoff, his prize for paying his dues in the valley.
I expect to receive a car that I've just bought, which is called the McLaren F1.
It's $1 million for a car. It's the perfect car for Silicon Valley, it really is.
There is, gentlemen, the fastest car in the world.
What do you reckon? You think the money changed him? Anyway, the McLaren F1 GTR that actually inspired 6ix9ine's Harrods paint job was the one driven by the Harrods racing team in the 1995 Le Mans 24-hour race. In fact, there's actually a great vintage documentary about this particular race made by McLaren and EA of all people, which documented the crazy 24-hour Le Mans race of 1995 where the McLaren F1 dominated.
5 teams are racing 7 of these exotic cars. The first team is managed by David Price, who's running 2 of these million-dollar cars, each with a different sponsor. The yellow one is backed by Harrods.
I actually watched that entire documentary as research for this video, and it was really good. I mean, it's on YouTube if you're a complete car nerd like me and you want to go check it out. So in that race, the 1995 Le Mans, there was a team called David Price Racing. One of their cars was a McLaren F1 GTR, sponsored by Harrods Mach 1 Racing, and that actually finished 3rd. With another team also driving McLaren F1 GTRs, under a different sponsor, also coming in at 1st.
A team formed at the last minute, with a car unproven over this kind of distance, has seen off a spirited challenge by much faster cars to score a fantastic win in the most demanding endurance race in the world. And the Harrods team a magnificent 3rd.
But it doesn't really matter that the Harrods McLaren came 3rd, because ever since, people have always been obsessed with this iconic and drippy colourway. So much so that over the years, many people have been eager to create it. Whether it's nerds on Gran Turismo Online making knockoff colourways for their digital cars, or McLaren themselves who even debuted the 2016 P1 GTR with a colour scheme inspired by this design, but notably missing any of the branded Harrods or Castrol branding. Which leads us to the very car that 6ix9ine has on his driveway, the very rare 2018 McLaren MSO X with that iconic 1995 Le Mans McLaren racing paint job. This exact car was only one of 10 ever built, and you can tell that this was number 7 by the number marked on the side. This particular batch of 10 rare McLaren MSO X's were commissioned specially by the biggest McLaren dealership in the US at Newport Beach, and they commissioned these to celebrate the Daytona 24-hour endurance event as a reference to that infamous 24-hour Le Mans event. This rare batch of MSO X cars were engineered specifically by McLaren Special Operations based on the 570S GT4 race car, which is not road legal unlike the MSO X, essentially making this a special model for car enthusiasts that want to race their car on the track but also want to be able to drive it on the roads on the way there. So you know what that means? 6ix9ine can actually drive this car on the road. Oh wait a minute, he's on house arrest. Oh, and wait another minute, 6ix9ine doesn't even have a driver's license, does he? But I mean, whatever, even if you can't drive it, sure is nice to look at on the driveway. Speaking of which, the MSO X is a beautiful car. It features a carbon fiber roof with a functional gooseneck air intake, a GT4 style spoiler which apparently provides 100 kilos of additional downforce. It has functional air intakes on the bonnet, an interior filled with exposed carbon fiber, bucket seats, 6-point racing harnesses, Alcantara trim, and even helmet storage. Which is funny because I always assumed Jade was 6ix9ine's helmet storage. Hey, sure beats your cell, mate. Anyway, this car is a one-of-one work of art. A very special commission and a reference to a golden moment in motoring history, which also means it is a darn sight more rare and more special than all of the other clapped out hoopties on 6ix9ine's driveway. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a hip-hop commentator who likes to spice up his educational videos with fart jokes. So for a breakdown of whether or not we should actually be impressed by 6ix9ine owning this car, here's Sid North, YouTube car expert, to give us some more insight.
Cheers, Ross. So let's talk about this McLaren 570S. This particular one that 6ix9ine has is called the 570S MSO X, which is MSO from McLaren's Special Vehicle Operations team. They're basically the ones in charge of making cars very bespoke, and a particular dealership in California ordered 10 570Ss. You can only buy them over in the States and they're all sold out, and you can get them in special liveries. The one 6ix9ine has, he's got the Harrods livery that you would find on the 1995 and 1996 McLaren F1 GTR that was driven by Andy Wallace, and it also finished podium at Le Mans 24 hours in 1995. Changes to that car aren't really much. You get 4-point harnesses inside, the twin turbocharged 3.8 litre V8 makes 562 horsepower, you get a few carbon bits at the back, a little air duct scoop to pay homage to the F1 GTR. To car enthusiasts, it's not really the most special car in the world, but if you're a show-off like 6ix9ine is, he would obviously flex that sort of car around. Anyways, back to you, Ross.
So, how the hell did this little skittle-headed pipsqueak end up with such a doozy of a ride? As I've said, this particular limited batch of 10 rare McLarens was delivered to the McLaren dealership in Newport Beach in 2018, in scenes that were actually well documented on YouTube. Hey, you know this is a star-studded affair because if you were at the event and you bought one of these cars, you got to have a dinner made personally by TV chef and shouty wax-faced ghoul Gordon Ramsay. At this event, the cars were presented to their owners, with each one in a different colour scheme nodding towards one of numerous paint jobs that McLaren F1s raced under at Le Mans through the 90s. From this test drive, we can see that they were all numbered out of 10 and had a paint colour scheme inspired by the legends of Le Mans. At this point, it didn't actually have the actual Harrods or Castrol branding on the car, so I assume that it was actually on the owners to customise them even further with copyrighted logos. God damn, imagine getting a copyright strike on your McLaren.
It turns out it was actually done by Protective Film Solutions in January of this year.
But anywho, we can see in many of these preview videos the very black, yellow and green McLaren marked number 7 that would eventually end up on 6ix9ine's driveway. And I'm sure 6ix9ine himself would even be pleased to see that this original run of cars themselves were sponsored by his favourite watch brand, Richard Mille.
And I get it. If you got one Richard Mille, nigga, this all mine, nigga. No, I'm fronting, I'm fucking... Get whatever y'all rappers do, nigga, it's mine, nigga.
Now, obviously, it was somebody other than 6ix9ine that had bought this car originally, because when this batch of 10 was offered, they were only sold to existing clients. And so in February 2018, whilst this exclusive high-end launch was taking place in Newport Beach, 6ix9ine was in Minnesota getting pressed by local goons. What a long way he's come in 2 years, eh? But some rich dude or dudette must have bought that car in 2018, slapped all of the Harrods decals on it, and then eventually getting bored of squeezing into this fine specimen, looking to trade it in for something better, like any rapper 2 months into a relationship with Blac Chyna. And it turned out the way that this car changed hands from whoever owned it before to 6ix9ine wasn't even that hard to find, because it turns out that this very specific one-off rare McLaren was actually entered into an auction on March the 6th of 2020, just under a month before 6ix9ine was released from jail. In fact, I was even able to find the exact auction listing for the very car that 6ix9ine himself bought from ClassicDriver.com. The car went under the hammer at an auction hosted by Gooding & Company on Amelia Island. Gooding & Company are actually a prestigious auctioneer of some of the rarest cars in the world, apparently even claiming to have auctioned off selections from the Jerry Seinfeld Porsche collection. And it would turn out that upon even closer inspection, we can see that 6ix9ine actually pulled an incredible finesse off by copying this one-of-a-kind rare car at auction. And if anything, it kind of made me wonder why on earth 6ix9ine didn't cop even more discount drip from this auction, because this one-of-a-kind, 1 in 10, priceless car sold at auction at an incredible discount, the price coming in at $173,600, massively below its estimate price of $275 to $325. This thing only had 637 miles on the clock and is a very rare collectibles item. 6ix9ine, if you're watching this, you need to keep that car for the rest of your life. And to be fair, I know that might not necessarily be that long if your address keeps leaking, but try your best, goddammit. In fact, 6ix9ine, while you're there, since your car game is mad strong right now, I'd suggest you use some of that spare money you got lying around to put some classics in your collection too. I mean, if I were you, I would have put down some money at that very same auction and stayed true to my name, copying this 1969 Mercedes-Benz 300 SEL, a beautiful classic at only $56,000. You know what? Come to think of it, I'm finna start up my own hip-hop auction house. Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am your auctioneer Gaps Tour Boss, and today I'd like to welcome you to the Treyway Seized Assets Auction. Today we have a number of items that were seized by authorities from the 9 Trey Gangster Bloods, a fabulous selection of 69 lots that is insured to be a whole lot of gang shit. A selection of highlights from this auction include one rainbow bandana previously owned by Takeshi 6ix9ine himself, made with technology inspired by Harry Potter's invisibility cloak. This comes with a signature invisible stripe, bound to make those sexual misconduct charges disappear. Next, of course, we have exclusive items from the Takeshi 6ix9ine chain collection, items which had been recovered post-kidnapping, including the jigsaw-inspired saw chain, and of course, 6ix9ine spinning disc. This connection comes complete with an appraisal, as well as an additional 0.5 litre bottle of original Takeshi 6ix9ine neck sweat. But of course, the final item in our collection is this original one-of-one Takeshi 6ix9ine rainbow grill, uncleaned with a lingering scent of Jade's box. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. I've just received news that the final lot has indeed gone missing, and today's auction will be cancelled. Unfortunately, once again, Treyway has indeed broken, bended, and folded. Oh hey, didn't see you there. Thanks for watching today's vid. Make sure you go and check out Sid North's channel on YouTube if you want some dope car content. Also want to give a humongous shout out to the Patreon gang. That's Dreezy Draco, Frank Forseglia, Max Hathaway 2000, Trauma Hound, Duquan Jones, Ban Johnson, Mark Vader, Jay, Sebastian Andres Laredo, Senjagara, Ryder, Pamela Vigil, Brandon Wedlow, Chris, Sean Anderson, Vampires for Hire, Roberto Rojas, Matthias Martin, Deshaun Campbell, Tuxedo Mask, Eric Prince Nice Armour, Eric Fredrickson, Jameson Felipe, Antonio Groza, Bash the Prince, Chris J, Claire Audion, DJ Fred 100, Griffin Fuller, Henry Bryant, Jaden Show, Jason Wyman, Javier Gonzalez, Jessica Simmons, Kizzlebot, Niraj Shukla, Otaku VS, Harry Vagina, Penis Bag McPenis Face, Pyromancer, Vivi, Wilson Psychedelic, and of course all of the other names who you see on screen right now. Thank you so much for your support. It means the world to me. Anybody else that wants to support the channel, head on over to patreon.com/traplawross to get your name at the end of the video and also access to all of the old school Trap Law merch, which is no longer available in the store. Appreciate everybody's support. Thank you so much for watching, and keep your eyes peeled for a very exciting new video that's coming over the next week or so. Peace out, gang. Bye.